Well, if you think back to your early school days, you may remember, I certainly remember, having to do a scoliosis test in school. And at the time, it may have seemed odd, but with it being the most common spinal deformity in school kids, the test is actually vital. In fact, about 100,000 kids are diagnosed with scoliosis each year. So joining me now to share more about the condition and what you need to know is pediatric spine surgeon, Dr. Jaren Riley from HCH Health One, Rocky Mountains Children's. Thank you for being here. And
Thanks for having me.
You have a guest.
We brought a guest. I really appreciate your message, actually, this being Scoliosis Awareness Month. There is a vital importance to getting kids checked early nowadays, and part of that is because the treatments have gotten so much better, especially with early detection. So for your kids who are going in for their annual checks, it's really important, especially young women ages 8 to about 11.
Okay.
Young men ages 10 to about 14. Because if we can catch these scoliosis cases earlier, both the non-surgical and the surgical treatments have gotten significantly better over the last 10 years.
Well, that's great news, doctor. What about, just break it down, because I remember doing the test. I know a lot of you watching remembered as well. What is scoliosis? So
scoliosis is a three-dimensional malalignment of the spine. Usually occurs because of differential growth rates between the back side of the spine and the front side of the spine. And so it causes a rotational and a sideways sort of kink in the spine. Most of them are benign. Most of them are small, they won't progress. You can play your sports, you can do all the usual things, but a few of them will get larger and require treatment.
And are they in pain, these children? Or
not typically, oddly enough, and that's why the screening is so important. You're usually going to catch it before it becomes symptomatic, and you're usually going to catch it before the child notices any changes in their body shape too, because most of it's happening behind them.
And then what would treatment entail nowadays?
So most treatment, thankfully, is observational, meaning we just watch it and make sure that as they grow, it doesn't get larger. That's the vast majority of them. But a few of them, if the curve gets larger, they do require interventions like bracing. If we can do that earlier in life, they're more likely to avoid surgery. Sometimes they require surgery, but that has improved significantly as well, especially in the sense that way back in the day, this was almost always a surgery that stiffened the spine to help prevent the curve from getting worse. But we have new surgeries that allow us to keep the spine mobile and moving, which is especially important for our football players, our ballerinas, our wrestlers, and everyone really, but especially those groups.
What happens if it's left untreated?
So most of them, again, will be okay.
Right. What about those severe cases?
Yes. See me, really, if we leave it untreated, it's unfortunate. It depends on age. Most of them in their teens who develop very large curves, yes, pain becomes a huge part of their life. The malalignment, which I hate the word deformity, but that's really where we get to, especially when I do my work in other countries and you see where it gets if you don't treat it. The deformity is profound and it leads to really horrible disability. So thankfully here, we catch it early, we treat it early, and they become regular sports playing, career having, family having, they do all the usual things. So with treatment, they can have perfectly normal lives.
I love that, and I love knowing that just the screening alone, it kind of, prevents even the treatment part from happening. What about, in general, I always wonder too, and I know parents are watching, is there anything we can do as parents to help prevent this from happening?
So prevention, unfortunately, isn't really on the table for scoliosis. But it does tend to run in families. So if you do have any first-hand family member who has scoliosis, definitely get your kids checked early. And then we also have really remarkably good pediatricians here in Colorado. They do a really good job of checking the kids every year. So just remind the pediatricians, again, girls 8 to 10, boys 10 to 14, just say, hey, while you're checking everything else, would you mind just taking a quick look at their spine? That's all it is, just a quick bend over test. There's no needle, there's nothing crazy, nothing scary, and that will catch the vast majority of it.
And it looks like can you kind of show on your spine, what does it typically look like?
So typically there's both a sideways deformity and a rotational deformity. Now it's the rotational deformity that your pediatrician will see, because when the child bends down, you'll see that one side of their spine will rise up a little bit. It'll cause some asymmetry to the shoulders and some asymmetry to the waist and the shoulder blades especially. So this gets picked up a lot by ballerina instructors, on swim teams when they're wearing a swimsuit and they bend down in the starting blocks. Someone will pick up on it, but we're hoping to catch most of it again just through annual exams, and those are the things you'll see.
Great information. I love that. Dr. Riley, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all that you do. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.